One of the most serious kinds of lawsuits we do here at the firm is called a toxic exposure case. And that's a situation where a human being has come into contact with a dangerous chemical, been exposed to a dangerous chemical. One of the dangerous chemicals I want to talk to you about today, it's called anhydrous ammonia. It's used in the fertilization industry, and it is very, very dangerous when it comes into contact with human beings. The Center for Disease Control tells us that anhydrous ammonia is a colorless gas, but has a particularly strong and pungent smell. So if you're near it, particularly if you're breathing it, you know it. It also is a very suffocating kind of fume, very disturbing to your system. So once again, you'll know something is wrong if you're being exposed to this, if you are inhaling it. Now, how does exposure occur? Well, let's start with how the anhydrous ammonia is stored. It's stored in large steel containers typically, and as a liquid. The problem comes is when that liquid is exposed to the air. For example, if the tank is punctured or it's unsealed in some fashion, then when the liquid anhydrous ammonia is exposed to the air, it becomes a gas and expands rapidly, and it can expand rapidly out over a large area. And if there are people over that large area, that's where exposure occurs. That's where the danger comes into play. The anhydrous ammonia as a gas forms a large cloud and typically will stay very low to the ground. It hugs the ground, so to speak, and that's where people are, and that's where the air that people breathe is. And so that's a property of this anhydrous ammonia. Beyond its chemical properties, its property of staying close to the ground makes it especially dangerous when it's out in the open air near people. Now, where does this kind of exposure occur when it does? Well, usually at production facilities, for example, where they make the anhydrous ammonia, at storage facilities where they have it in these large containers ready to be shipped, usually to somewhere in service of the agricultural industry, pipelines that carry it if a pipeline is ever punctured, for example. Also transportation vehicles. So we're talking about, for example, ships, barges, train cars, tank trucks, which travel along the highways. If they overturn, if the tanks are ruptured, if they're not properly sealed, and the liquid starts to get out, gets exposed to the air and turns into a gas, then we have a problem. We had a problem like this just very recently in Illinois, where the contents of an anhydrous ammonia container started to get out into the open air. It formed a very large toxic cloud, and an area within a mile of that spill had to be warned for several hours to stay inside their homes and schools because it was so dangerous to breathe the air. What are the symptoms you might want to know if you've been exposed? Like I say, if you have been exposed particularly to high concentrations of it, you will know that something is wrong. But here the CDC tells us what the symptoms are. Eye, nose, and throat irritation, and not modest irritation, but very significant irritation, almost like a burning. Difficulty breathing, chest pains, like something is very seriously wrong, burns, blisters, frostbite. You can even lose consciousness, and at very high concentrations, fatalities have even been known to occur. Like I said earlier in this video, this is a really dangerous chemical. One of the things it does is it will damage the large airways inside the body. It will damage the lungs, and as I said just a moment ago, it can even take someone's life if the concentrations are high enough. So it is especially dangerous. If you have been exposed to anhydrous ammonia or think you might have been exposed, you don't want to delay. Call 911, get medical attention immediately for yourself, for a loved one who might have been exposed. Minutes count here. It may save your life.